Let's talk about this the story we have here from the National Review. Trump says he intends to sue CNN for defamation. Now, how much is this just Trump blowing smoke, or is he really going to do it?
It's impossible to sue people.
It is. It really is.
Did you see?
People
I think
don't get it.
Was it Clarence Thomas? Did he say that there's a potential case coming in front of the court that will change and actually loosen the standards by which you can actually do these sorts of things? I think that would be a very healthy step in the right direction.
So here's what Trump said. He said, I have notified CNN of my intent to file a lawsuit over their repeated defamatory statements against me. I will also be commencing actions against other media outlets who have defamed me and defrauded the public regarding the overwhelming evidence of fraud throughout the 2020 election. I will never stop fighting for the truth and for the future of our country. Now, that'll be interesting, and I don't think Trump will get anywhere with suing them over fraud stuff. First and foremost, I think Trump thoroughly misunderstands a lot of the 2020 election stuff. I think what we saw with Sidney Powell and Lynn Wood really exemplifies that. Trump was given a lot of bad info. I think he's wrong in that regard.
He was, but I think he could have focused on the good friend Molly Hemingway wrote a book, Rigged. I think there are definitely serious questions about 2020, but I think you are right. I mean, Sidney, Lynn, all these,
and that's
the Kraken.
Right.
Crazy stuff.
That threw everything into chaos, and I have to wonder if those people were intentionally working against Trump.
I feel like Lynn Wood was.
Well, because I'll tell you, I want to talk about the lawsuits of the media, so I don't want to get into, but I will mention, Pennsylvania changing the rules on voting was ruled unconstitutional after the fact.
But did you see what Wisconsin State Supreme Court just said recently?
What did they say?
They said that the unsecured ballot drop boxes were illegal.
Oh, right.
It might have called into question the election. There's a lot of stuff that's weird about it.
This is the problem with Trump and the fraud narrative, is that it's procedural. It's procedural questions on policy and law that need to be rectified and don't if that keeps becoming the narrative, because it's universal mail-in voting rules, the question of the constitutionality of universal mail-in voting,
right?
Election month versus election day, unmanned drop boxes. So I don't want to get into all of that.
We don't want to go down that.
I want to talk about the
this.
media lying about January 6th and all of that stuff. Certainly Trump has his opinion on all those things. I got to say, though, if he's suing on those grounds, dismissed instantly.
Yeah.
Because, for one, the courts are going to be entirely biased against hearing any of this stuff. But if he's talking about January 6th, then I think he might actually win. Like what we're seeing now with the media saying, I'm not saying win in every single instance. I know Lauren gave a look of doubt.
I don't think people win, especially when you're a public figure like Trump, even starting these defamation lawsuits. I mean, he'd have the money to do it, I guess, so he'd be able to start, but it's so difficult to win a defamation lawsuit, especially when you have other media writing the same thing about you. Any media company will use that as a defense. They'll say everyone else is writing the same thing, so we just wrote it.
Or maybe it's not even about that. I mean, maybe it's just about bringing this to the forefront again to have a conversation about all of these things.
Here's what will happen. One news outlet, let's call it News Outlet A, will write something false about Lauren. Mm-hmm. News Outlet B will pick it up.
Right.
News Outlet C will pick it up. News Outlet A will retract and apologize. And now you have two outlets citing each other. And if you sue one of those, they'll say it's reported as fact by News Outlet C. You sue them, they'll say it's reported as fact by News Outlet B. And then even if it is wrong, they'll say all we are doing is conveying what another news outlet already said, which we believe to be true. There's no malice, and we're allowed to say it.
And no one ever sees the correction. It's always published on a different page months later, but it still counts. It's still good enough. You don't have to. That's what's crazy to me is there's like no legal recourse for if an article about you goes completely viral. There's no expectation that the apology afterwards that will prevent any sort of legal financial recouping will be as viral.
Right.
And there's no expectation. One person could see the correction and that's still, okay, we're not legally culpable now. That's nuts.
There's pros and there's cons. The idea is that it's difficult to sue anyone in the public space, but the problem then is the media, the corporate press lies about basically everything. So I was thinking about this earlier. In order to sue, you need standing and injury, which is insane. How do you prove injury? Are you going to go find the guy who wrote you the donor check, who canceled it, and then have him testify that I wrote the donor check, and as soon as I saw that defamation, I tore it up? So proving that is insane. I think we should be allowed to sue for correction. That's it. For correction. So you go to a court and you say, I can definitively prove the spirit of what they're saying, their statements are untrue, and then maybe they got to pay legal fees if they lose for publishing something false, and that's fair. And then it's like, Then they got to issue an apology, a statement. They got to publish it on the front page and leave it up there for like a week or something for everyone to see. It's remarkable to me that you can have a major news organization lie. Yeah. And so I've been through this. I've talked to lawyers and they're like, what are your damages? And then I was like, well, obviously they're trying to get me banned, shadow banned, reduce wages and things like that, or income. And they're like, can you prove it? It's like, unless we file a subpoena and discovery against YouTube to ask them if they're, and YouTube does this. In response to smears, YouTube has deranked and shadow banned many people, hurting their businesses. How do you prove that to a court? At the very least, I should be able to sue and say, Your Honor, I can prove what they said is false. I would like them to be ordered to issue a correction. That's it. There you go.
Do you think that in the correction, they should state that they were also sued to make a correction? So it sets it apart from ones that they just chose to do?
Yes. It should say a court, upon finding of our defamation, has instructed us to correct the record and make sure our audience understands we were wrong on this count and this count and this count. We apologize for the error. And it should be on their front page for a week.
That could incentivize them to do it before they get sued, so they don't have to make the say like, hey, we got sued also.
Well, so this is actually what happens. Organizations will defame you, and then when you move to file a suit, they'll retract in a very weak and pathetic way to remove standing. And then when you go to a judge, they'll say they've already removed the article. Okay, case dismissed. And then I'm like, now I've lost donors. Now people won't work here because the media has threatened. Because
that's like pulling the bullet out of someone's arm and being like, there's no bullet,
exactly.
So there's no proof that I shot.
That's a good example.
Exactly. Yep.
No, the wound's still there.
We need reform on defamation. Because I'll tell you this: if I made a mistake, if Timcast.com published something incorrect, and someone came to me and said that's wrong, I'd say sorry about that. We'll fix it immediately. And there you go.
Yeah, because you're committed to the truth.
So there's no net negative for those who are committed to the truth if we have a system in which you can sue someone to force a correction.
No, I think this is a bigger question. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. I mean, obviously one of the aspects of our society and our republic is a free and fair press that's meant to actually pursue the truth, to provide transparency that can then lead to accountability so the American people understand what's going on. There's accountability. This is the one thing where we clearly do not have a free and honest press. We have corporate propagandists. What are the steps that are needed to actually get them to the point, grudgingly or otherwise, where they're actually focused on trying to be at least objective on some levels? I don't know. That's when Clarence Thomas...
win the market.
Yeah, I mean, part of it is winning the market. At the same time, there have to be consequences for it.
Yeah.
Because there are no consequences right now. They can get away with anything, literally.
They can say anything they want. And then
they can call January 6 people seditious insurrectionists, and there are no consequences for that when they had nothing to do with any of that at all.
Well, there are people on January 6th who have been charged to that, but they're innocent until proven guilty. But a lot of these people had doors open for them by police.
No, I've seen videos. Yeah, they walked right past. The police just
cops
looked
waved
at
them in.
Yeah, they waved them in, opened the door.
Yeah, one guy got acquitted because of it. And AOC, Ocasio-Cortez herself,
her video.
Agrees.
Yeah, on the steps of the Capitol.
Agrees.
No, if we can't get back to the point, I totally agree with the competition, control the market, or get more of a market share. We've got to figure out how there are consequences.
It should not be for profit.
There should be pain.
Absolutely.
Absolute pain for what some of the stuff that they're doing right now.
Like
I mean,
medical industry.
they lied about Trump every step of the way.
Yeah.
Almost every single thing ever. The Shinzo Abe thing, I remember that one.
Yeah.
When he was feeding the fish, and they cropped the video so you could only see Trump dumping the food in. And what they cropped out was that Shinzo Abe did it first. He poured the food in and looked at Trump, and then Trump said, okay, and threw his food in. But they tried to make it seem like Trump did something wrong to insult him. It's insane.
Could you say like any kind of news organization that would qualify under protections as a news organization has to be a 501c3?
No.
The for-profit news is crazy because they just make it up.
Right, it's a problem. That's right. So I'll tell you guys, it's really simple. CNN, what should they do? Should they spend $100,000 salary to investigate a story, or do they lie? What makes more money for these corporations? You put out a lie,
right? You
get $1 million from this viral story. The next day you issue a retraction. Here's the best part: the retraction makes money too. Now the retraction, let's say a news outlet, not just CNN, any news outlet writes an article that goes viral, claiming something insane. They get all the ad revenue from it. When they issue their retraction, a small percentage of people will read the retraction, which also has ads on it. So they'll even make money retracting. They don't give back the ad dollars when they retract the story. They keep them. I think you should be able to sue, and you should get all revenue generated from the false piece.
Ooh, that's a good one. I like that.
Love it.
I also think just like mocking these outlets into oblivion completely, it's like a scary thing to say we have to destroy faith in like the journalistic institutions, but we do. We need people to just not trust them at all, which means what they'll do is when they go to sites to read, they'll have to actually read the article. They'll have to see if there's sources, and then they can regain trust in a website. They'll be like, okay, this site that I've been reading for a while actually sources things. I'm going to start reading them. There cannot be an immediate assumption that because it's a journalistic outlet, it's going to be correct. It has to be the opposite.
It's an issue of human behavior, though.
Yeah.
I mean, people don't
I was
even
gonna
read
ask-
articles; they read headlines.
But I was also going to say, are people really looking for the truth? Are they looking for something that will
Yeah, no, they're
reinforce
not.
their presuppositions
They're
and
looking for
biases?
comfort.
I mean, we were
Yeah.
just talking about, for the 4,000th whatever time, are they going to get Trump? It's reinforcing their biases. They just want to hear what they already believe.
Right.
So I don't know. I think at least an interesting question.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. But if you want to check out the full show live, tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And if you want more special access content, head over to timcast.com and become a member. Your membership helps sustain this company, keep our journalists employed, makes this show happen, and you will get access to exclusive members-only segments of the Timcast IRL podcast, and there's a massive library to check out. So again, go to timcast.com or tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., and we'll see you all there.